Nigeria step up efforts to tackle blood shortage. Taxi drivers tremble over loss in public trust over traffic crimes. APRC says they expect nothing positive on TRC's recommendations on former President Yahya Jammeh. This and more coming on the World Today newscast. Hello, this is the World Today newscast with me, Mariama Cham, and thanks for joining us. As the world celebrates Blood Donor Day, Nigerian authorities have vowed to raise awareness of blood donation as part of efforts to overcome blood insufficiency in the West African state. Nigeria needs over 1 million units of blood for transfusion annually, but not even half of the needed blood is available according to the health authorities. In 2020, the government launched a blood donation strategy plan, but the number still remains low. Details of that in this report.
Let me flog you. Let's try. I'm collecting your details.
Japhet Ezekiel Michibi walks on crutches and calls himself a warrior of sickle cell disease. His condition requires a blood transfusion at least once a month. He says it's been traumatic accessing blood at the hospitals and almost cost him his life in his 20s.
So normally my elder brother, he's the one that matches my blood group. He's my donor, but as at this instance, he wasn't in town, and there was no blood in the blood bank. But fortunately, we got a donor, and I lived through that moment. But even after that, nothing major has changed. There's still difficulty accessing blood.
According to Nigeria's health ministry, up to 1.8 million units of blood is needed for transfusion every year, but only about 66,000 units are collected annually. The National Blood Transfusion Service says only 5% of total blood donations in the country are made by voluntary donors. The remaining 95% are commercially provided.
The religious beliefs, some don't collect, some don't receive. That's their belief and nothing changes it. We have people that are, their awareness is very low, because people say they don't see, and the radio stations will do it, but it's not frequent. We need to make it frequent. That's it. And we have people that are afraid of needles. Afraid of needle prick, they're afraid of it, they don't want to do it. There are cultural beliefs. People are afraid that they have blood going to use for rituals and so on. It's unfortunate, but that's the truth.
Experts at this blood drive to mark World Blood Donor Day say more awareness is necessary. They say the COVID-19 pandemic has made the situation worse. So, as well as TV, radio and social media promotion, they're also using on-site locations.
Nobody wants to leave his workplace where he's making money to feed his family, can't donate blood. When we come here, that issue is settled. We come donate blood and then face their business. So it solves a lot of things. That's why we're here. I believe that if we continue this way, by the time more people join the trend, the awareness increases, the donation increases, and then I believe the scale will be scaled up, but the gap will be closed. It may not be totally, but with time, little by little, we'll get there.
And the country may be on its way to achieving blood self-sufficiency.
Last year, the government launched a 10-year national blood transfusion strategic plan, which is targeted at reaching at least 1 million blood donors yearly from 2021 to 2030. It says this will improve the nation's safe blood reserve.
And that should mean people like Japhet can access blood more easily, and many more lives can be saved.
Taxi drivers are blaming trembling business on increasing incidents of crime, especially those related to traffic. Few among the lot have disguised themselves as commercial drivers to play foul games on very innocent passengers. Some of these cases have been addressed by the police with a wide range of news circulation, resulting in loss of public trust on taxi drivers. There is a false in this report.
In the wake of concerns over safety for people hiring the services of taxi drivers, the Gambia Police issued a notice to advise passengers to pay attention to vehicle registration numbers before boarding. According to the police via its social media handles, one must share such details of a taxi with family members or loved ones for safety concerns. Cases such as robbery, Attempted rape and other forms of criminal operation have been reported of people in disguise of taxi drivers, resulting to this wake-up call. As a result, some of the taxi drivers are of the view that their business has been tainted with lack of trust, fear and all forms of difficulties.
Parce que sometimes da ngay gis client mu ñëw dugga xool la ba num la neex mu ne man de wóoluma taxi driver waaye man nu may liggéeyee man.
Sometimes a client will enter your taxi and take a look at you properly. If you ask why, they will tell you, I don't trust taxi drivers now. For me, how I work is, anyone who comes and says, I don't trust you, I usually tell them to look properly, and if they are not satisfied, let them drop off. This is really a challenge for me as a taxi driver. In the Gambia, we all may be taxi drivers, but we are quite different.
Taxi driving is considered one of the lucrative ventures mainly by young people across the country. Vehicle owners make a living from the income they make of the traffic. But the rhythm appears to be changed as commercial drivers are being interpreted as troublemakers.
This has really deteriorated our work. The way the traffic was and now is different due to the fear people have towards taxi drivers. Sometimes clients will come and just look at your vehicle properly, take a photo of your vehicle, or even take a photo of you, the driver, which should not be done by right. And all this is because of the criminal act in the country. Yes, it's true that wherever you go, you will find criminals. But not everyone is a criminal. Those taxi drivers walking on the highway, every day, you cannot do anything bad because people will see you. And those committing these criminal acts are not always on the highway. Someone can park his private car and use a taxi to commit these crimes.
Relying on more than 30 years' experience in the field of driving, Seinu Fofana is of the view that the situation could be addressed if the police tighten the issue of drivers.
Boys driving don't have driving licenses. They borrow taxis and drive late at night. The police have a role to play by scrutinizing the kind of people they issue licenses to. And also drivers should make sure they register under a garage so that if anything happens, chief the garage will know which particular driver commits a particular act.
The police launched a joint operation known as Operation Zero Crime in May 2021 with the aim to curb crimes such as armed robbery, killings and theft across the length and breadth of the country. Gambians are of the view that despite the lack of other social and economic services, they cannot afford a lack of thorough security because peace is what makes the Gambia the smiling coast of Africa. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am DCC.
The Gambia National Guard has joined the fight in tackling surging criminal activities in the country by launching an operation called Restore Sanity aimed at restoring peace and order in the country. The initiative is meant to complement Operation Zero Crime launched by the Gambia Police Force months ago. More of that in this report. Few months ago, a week wouldn't have passed by without a violent criminal activity being reported ranging from rape and murder to armed robbery and stealing among others. These activities, however, prompted the Gambia Police Force to launch an Operation Zero Crime to curb the surging criminal activities in the Gambia. To complement this crusade, the nation's National Guard mounted an operation called Restore Sanity, geared towards restoring public order and safety due to the sharp rise in criminality and criminal-related activities in the country. Major Lamin Sanyang, Director of Press and Public Relations of the Gambia Armed Forces, says the need arises when there was a public outcry in the surging number of the criminal activities in the country.
However, with time, it was observed, by the public, because of the public outcry there, that more needed to be done because some of these crimes involve the use of arms and ammunition by some of these criminals. And also, some other incidences also did occur. And as a result, there was the need to also, activate the second layer, which is the Gambia National Guard, which under the Constitution is mandated to deal with internal security matters because they have full police powers. They can effect arrest, they can detain, as far as the Constitution is concerned.
The operation, according to officials, will involve vigorous patrols during the day, which will be intensified during the night. As a result, the public is urged to avoid lonely, remote, and suspected crime-infested areas at ungodly hours to reduce the risk of being targets of these criminals. Major Sanyang says any culprit found violating the laws will be apprehended and handed over to the police for further actions.
For Operation Restore Sanity, the plan is like if anyone is arrested, we will process you, take your details, document you, and from there we hand you over to the police. That's the law, the Ministry of Interior, for them to process you. So we are not going to keep people for any longer. Once we bring them in, probably the following day we'll process them and hand them over to the police for prosecution, of course with any evidence that we may have.
Law-abiding citizens are also encouraged to go about their normal activities and to provide the National Guards with timely information about criminals and their locations to assist the security forces in their quest to curtail crime. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham. Now, hosting a delegation of political leaders from Eastern Kenyan region on Monday, President Uhuru Kenyatta urged political leaders to unite and work together for Kenya to achieve its goal of becoming a middle-income country by 2030. Speaking at the meeting in Nairobi, the Kenyan president emphasized on the issue of building bridges initiative as to bring the country together and consolidate national unity. Amanda files in this report.
Kenya, with a population of more than 47 million people, is the world's 48th largest country by total size. The East African country, famed for its scenic landscapes and vast wildlife preserves, have been providing historically important ports by which goods from Arabian and Asian traders have entered the continent for many centuries by its Indian Ocean coast. In hosting political leaders on Monday at the State House in Nairobi, President Kenyatta cautioned against endless politics at the expense of development, saying political bickering and selfish pursuits by leaders were holding the country back. As the country is working to achieve its goal of becoming a middle-income country by 2030, the Kenyan president called on leaders across the political divide to unite in order to move the country forward.
How wonderful it is, to see my brother Stephen being flanked by Chap Chap and Nak. It's beautiful. Huh? Because I will assure you, there is no way a country can move forward if leaders are not together. I have done much more than I was able to do even in my first term. Why? Because I have been able to focus myself, working in conjunction with my colleagues, and being able to focus on the development agenda, not the political agenda.
The president added that working together as one is the basis of success in any country.
It is not about where you are. It is about where we are. And the minute you start talking we, that is the basis of success today and into the future. So please,
President Kenyatta further emphasized the whole essence of Building Bridges initiative as it is to bring the country together and consolidate national unity. The world's middle-income countries are a diverse group by size, population, and income level. Middle-income countries are home to 75% of the world's population and 62% of the world's poor. They represent about 1/3 of global GDP and are major engines of global growth. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
Now, the spokesperson of Alliance for Patriotic Orientation and Construction, APRC, has told iAfrica TV that the party expects nothing positive from the Truth Commission's recommendations about former President Yahya Jammeh. Dunja says the TRC should allow the law to take its course in the implementation of the yet-to-be-presented report of the recommendations to President Adama Barrow. More of that in this report. On the final day of the public hearings of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission TRRC, lead counsel Issa Fall emphasized that former President Yahya Jammeh must be brought to justice for the alleged gross human rights violations that occurred under his reign. However, the APRC spokesperson says it is unprofessional for some members of the TRRC to insist that Jammeh must be brought to justice.
We're not expecting anything positive as far as the former president is concerned. From the lead counsel himself, the way he reacts or reacted during the proceedings of the TRRC, he has nothing to hide when it comes to the former president, that he's not in support and will never support or never to compromise or accept anything positive that came from him or his government. So we're not expecting anything positive as far as the former president is concerned. Some of their staff, they insisted way before the recommendations are received and the report that the president must implement. For me, that's not professional enough. What is expected of them is to write their report and make recommendations and submit to the authorities concerned.
Duduja adds that neither the president nor the TRRC have to execute the recommendations. To him, the parliament has a role to play as their primary objective is to maintain peace in the country.
I think must be is overemphasized. This country has laws, and whatever should happen in the Gambia must be according to our constitution. It's the supreme law of the land that the president has prerogative, has executive powers that he can execute, but he is not alone in it. If he wants to take any measures or further action, it must be approved by parliament, especially when it comes to prosecuting. And when it goes to parliament, two-thirds must agree to whatever recommendations would also come from the president himself. And the reason or the basis of the law is it must be geared towards maintaining peace in this country. So it's not for TRRC to make decisions, and it's not for the president alone to decide and say prosecution will take place, but parliament also has a big role to play in this.
Gambians are eagerly waiting for the recommendations of the TRRC as the public hearings ended last month. The TRRC was established in 2017 to conduct research and investigations into human rights violations committed under the presidency of Yahya Jammeh. The commission further aims to prevent a repetition of the violations and abuses suffered under the past regime by making recommendations to government and citizens aimed at ensuring the crimes of the past never reoccur in the Gambia. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham. The International Fund for Agricultural Development has called on governments and private sectors to urgently invest in digital infrastructure and mobile banking services in developing countries to ensure rural families are not left behind. This call comes as millions of remittance families in rural areas struggle to access mobile banking services that could help them drive away poverty. Daisy reports.
The International Day of Family Remittances is observed annually on the 16th June to recognize more than 200 million migrant workers who send money home to over 800 million family members. One of the greatest progress for remittances during 2020 was the accelerated adoption of digital technology by the migrants and their families. Despite a massive increase in migrants sending money home via mobile transfers, millions of their family members in the rural areas still struggle to access the mobile banking services. To address this obstacle, the International Fund for Agricultural Development called on governments and private sectors to quickly invest in inclusive digital infrastructure.
Today's modern economy. Remittances represent the human face of globalization, and the international community needs to work together to not only make it cheaper, but also to make it count more for millions of families and the communities in which they live.
Pushpa Raut, wife of Nepal's migrant worker, whose husband is one of 200 million migrant workers around the world, explained how she struggles to access the money transferred by her husband.
My husband has been working abroad for the last 10 years. Now he's in Dubai doing some tailoring related work.
Maria Bibiana, an online transfer expert, said, despite the coronavirus pandemic, migrants continue to send money to their relatives.
COVID-19 has shown us that Colombians abroad could experience economic difficulties, but they continue sending money to their families in Colombia to help them.
Despite early prediction of a fall in remittances volume due to COVID-19 measures, global remittances remained steady in 2020, dropping just 1.6% to $540 billion. Family remittances have a direct impact on the lives of more than 1 billion people, 1 out of 7 individuals on Earth. Digitalization experts say is less costly than cash transfers and has reinforced the adoption of mobile money. Therefore, allowing greater access to digital technology provides the key to keeping remittances flowing and lifting millions of rural people out of poverty. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Lacey.
It will take us to a quick break and we'll be back with the rest of the news on the wall today. Stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back, and this is still the World Today newscast. Now, the 14th edition of the Gambia International Trade Fair drew the curtains on Sunday, with participants feeling relief of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the hard knocks, sales in this year's fair are highly rated as goods and services took up the space of the National Independence Stadium from May 22nd. Khadija Seka reports.
The annual International Trade Fair, organized by the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, creates a valuable platform for businesses and people to sell and explore qualities best found in the African market. Leading businesses from the sub-region are joined by those with international background on the language of partnership, paving way for opportunities for the small and medium enterprises, mainly by the young. The fair constructs businesses linkages between Gambia and other parts of the world that goes down to explore new products and trend to usher in cost-effective marketing and management. One thing some of the participants are taking home from Banjul is the nature of sales in comparative with the previous editions.
Sant nañ ci Yàlla bi bari suma collègues ñu ngi complain naan it's not as usual waaye ñun moom sant Yàlla ba mu bari.
For this year's trade fair, I have nothing to say except to thank Allah. Although some of my colleagues complain that this year is not like other years, but on my part, the profit I made is more than that of the previous years.
Asan Katra further explained the challenge in getting the Gambian-made products compete in the market.
Jafe-jafe bi nag mooy lan mooy Gambians yi duñ dee nangoo patronize Gambian-made products.
The difficulty is that Gambians do not patronize their own products. So to be very honest, if the youth of the Gambia are trying, one should help them. If one comes to our shop and realize that our products are made in the Gambia, they will just turn their backs and give us an excuse that they are coming back. So you see that the confidence is lacking.
One of the participants who had attended the previous 3 editions of the exhibition gave a better rating of the 2021 trade convergence in the Gambia.
This is my 4th year, and I have seen an improvement. Every year I sell my products to many people, and this year is not an exception. I have never even met many of my customers before. This year is a sign of massive improvement. That is why every year from now on, I will come back.
Misuna, who is in the fashion business, expressed her satisfactions with the progress of this year's fair.
This is my first year selling at the trade fair, and I have achieved my objective. I've made a lot of sales. Hopefully, next year I'll earn more than this.
The International Trade Fair could not hold last year due to the outbreak of the coronavirus, which devastated businesses and the service sectors across the world. The resumption of this exhibition signals a revival of crippled economics and hopes in getting back to the normal business operations. Khadijatu Seka, iAfrica News.
And that report by Khadijatu Seka on the sales in this year's fair being highly rated brings us to the end of the World Today News. I am Mariama Cham. Thanks for your company and goodbye for now.